So you're just talking about mince and water?
Yes.
Which is, that doesn't... It's like one of those combinations of like toothpaste and orange juice as well. There's just certain things that shouldn't ever mix.
I mean...
Some,
yeah, you're right.
Some things are okay that don't seem right. Like, have you ever had mac and cheese and ketchup?
No, that sounds pretty good though.
You're missing out, man.
Have you tried cotton candy with chicken?
No, see, and there's just these things that like you don't think, and there you go. See, so that's dinner. I'll just make that for dinner. It's like dinner and dessert together. Boom.
The perfect combo.
The perfect combo. So, welcome everyone to the Triple J Studios podcast. Today we're bringing back a not normal guest, but I guess you may remember from the Detective Pikachu of David.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Yes, returned.
Yes.
And we kicked out Anthony. No.
He's out of the picture now.
He's gone now. No, Anthony will return one day. But either way, today we are going to be talking about one that many consider a classic, but I have mixed feelings, which we'll talk about, with E.T. the Extraterrestrial. So, David, had you ever seen this before?
Nope.
Do you know who directed it?
Was it Steven Spielberg?
Yes.
Okay.
It was. It was Steven Spielberg, and I was just going online trying to figure out what I could, like any background information on the film or anything, and I found this, which was interesting. The concept was based on an imaginary friend Spielberg created after his parents' divorce in 1960. In 1980, Spielberg met Matt Matheson and developed a new story from the startled sci-fi horror film project Night Skies. And then it goes on to say that it had a budget of $10.5 million. And how much do you want to bet it made at the box office?
Over $900 million.
Close. It was actually lower.
Oh.
At $792.9 million. However, that didn't stop it from becoming one of the top highest grossing films of all time in 1982. And then it was surpassed 11 years later in 1993 by Jurassic Park. So I don't think Steven Spielberg really had much to cry for. But still.
Wait, he also directed that movie too.
Exactly. So he was probably ecstatic of just, I did it twice. I beat myself.
So much money.
Yeah. So it was released in, as previously mentioned, May 26, 1982 in Cannes. And then on June 11th, 1982 in the United States. So it was essentially the summer blockbuster.
All right.
You had to see it, man. If you didn't see it,
you
weren't
square.
The cool kid. You weren't the cool kid, man. So, but yeah, so mainly this is just a fun, lighthearted film until the very end. Till like maybe the 30 seconds at the end where it gets weird and all over the place. So let's start with the beginning, as any film should.
All right.
With just a very odd opening of, it kind of reminded me of, Avatar?
Avatar? Are you talking about...
The Blue People?
The Blue People.
Not the one that did terrible. It was the,
I think I do a little bit.
You probably do. It's, either way, it kind of reminded me of that, maybe for like I can't really think of another film, but it essentially was like this very dramatic looking scenery that I thought we were on another planet, but then it quickly cut to, I guess we were on Earth. Yeah. So that kind of confused me a little, but again, most of this film is essentially deal with it. Stuff will happen and you gotta deal with it. So all of the aliens are walking around and they all have glowing hearts, I think?
Yes, I believe so. Like, I don't know. It's weird that, they had the glowing thing, but I believe their chest was sort of transparent, so you could see, like, the heart pumping and everything.
Oh, yeah, okay. So kind of like a... Okay, that makes more sense than I thought, just there was a hole in the heart or something. So, yes, so they all land, and then poor E.T. man, he's trying to make a living, and they fly away, almost like every other Disney film. So they leave, and then a bunch of government people, they're like, go over there! He's over there! And they run over and they try to go and find him.
It's Bigfoot!
It's Bigfoot! Have you seen Monsters University?
Monsters University? Oh, Monsters University, yes.
Yes. Remember at the very end?
When
they're like, that's what it reminded me of. Like, look
right.
over there! So they leave, and then he's just looking over San Fernando Valley, just in all its beauty, and then we're introduced to our main antagonist, Elliot, who is apparently 10 in this film.
10?
Yeah, which I thought like maybe 15 or something.
Hmm.
And we're also introduced to his brother Michael and Gertie, his sister. Which
Mhm.
I want to talk about Michael for a little bit. Michael seems like such a jerk in this film,
Mm.
but how did you think that they portrayed teenagers in general?
I think they sort of portrayed them as a little bit of like rebellious, like, I don't really care all that much.
Mm.
But it seems like they're still like kids at heart or something, because I believe it did portray them as maybe a little bit rebellious and maybe a little bit rude, but they're still people. They're still respectful in some aspect.
Which I did like near the end of the film, how they started making Michael like giving nuggies and like
Mhm.
kind of hating his brother, to suddenly just this lighthearted kid of like, okay, my brother needs me. So I did like how Spielberg decided to make them not as like a rebel without a cause, like snapping fingers, going like, we're gonna get you. And then Gertie, who's just adorable throughout the entire film.
Yep.
So Elliot, he's with his friends. I think they're playing D&D, but I don't know. They're playing some type of role-playing game.
I think it was D&D with betting of gambling of some form.
Possibly, I don't know. I've never played it before, but
All I know is actually I don't know at all. No.
yeah, yeah. And then they're all like, "You gotta go and get the pizza from outside." So he gets the pizza, but then he discovers there's something hiding in the tool shed.
Stranger danger.
Stranger danger. And then he brings his family all out because he threw out a little ball, and sure enough, they don't find him.
It bounced back.
Ooh. And they're more upset that the pizza got run over. Or Elliot stepped on the pizza, that was right.
I could have died, but the pizza was still priority.
But I mean, hey, if pizza was on the line for anything, you need the pizza. So Elliot starts leaving, and I thought this was very childish, which I love, was Elliot started leaving the Reese's Pieces candy into the house. Which, I don't know if that was like a product type of thing, like a product deal or something. I like to think it was just one of those like, all right, like they're in a board meeting and they're like, we need Reese's Pieces or M&Ms. And then some guy was like, what about Hershey's? And he was fired. But so he goes to sleep, and then he's sleeping outside, and this is when E.T. very slowly just kind of starts walking up in a not normal pattern.
It just felt really, I don't know, weird, but I think that's what they were trying to go for.
Oh, definitely. I think they were trying to go with this more creepy, like, you don't know if you can trust him. You know you can because everyone saw the trailer back then. But, yeah, so you have E.T., he's walking up, and just right away, you were talking about how every shot of E.T. is essentially a puppet.
Yeah.
So Jim Henson, eat your heart out, because this puppet was very well done.
Yeah.
Especially when, like, the neck rises and lowers.
Yeah,
I
don't know how they did that, but it's definitely interesting.
I mean, yeah, because in some shots I thought it was just CGI because it seemed like those shots were impossible to do, such as the walking scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very well done in that sense. So he brings him in, and then he fakes being sick. In the most cliche way of putting a light over your head and putting a heat mask over your face.
Wait, that was a heat mask?
I don't know what you would call it. Some use it for their back or like for swords or something.
Oh, what are those pad thingies?
Right, a heat pad.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So, yes, so I gotta stop saying so. I just realized. But, so Elliot brings him in and he puts him into the closet of like, don't talk to him. And then Gertie meets the alien, and then we have probably the one point that I had to kind of go into autopilot mode because my ears couldn't stand her screaming for like 30 seconds.
30 seconds of everybody panicking.
Oh, definitely. But Gertie went full out on this scene.
Yeah.
She didn't stop, which, I mean, ugh. Kids, man.
Yep.
Crazy. So, they're trying to ask E.T. these different questions. Of like, where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? And then they start bringing up the clay balls, and he starts revolving into this type of planetary system. Which, what did you think of that scene?
I think that looked very interesting, but still I believe it would be a little bit confusing because, yeah, it did represent a planetary system, but I don't think it really showed much representation as to like what he was exactly referring to. He was probably referring to like his home planet was somewhere there, but
Probably.
we have no real indication as to what galaxy or anything it is.
Which is what I was going to ask you next was, do you think ET's from the same solar system as us or the same galaxy? Because that, you are right in the sense that there were only 5.
Yeah.
With one representing the sun, I would assume.
So, I definitely say I don't think you would be from the galaxy, as well as... Yeah, I've got nothing.
But either way, it is supposed to represent some kind of planetary system. So, he starts to reveal that he's kind of not magical, but more in the sense of just he can do things that we didn't think of.
Superpowers.
Ooh, essentially. Because we have Elliot gets a little cut or something.
And then he does the healing poke.
Yeah, and he goes ouch and he touches him, which freaks me out. I remember even when I was younger and saw this film, that still did not feel settling. And I felt like, oh, maybe it's better now that it's aged. It's worse.
Yes.
Yeah, so next day, of course, Elliot, he has to go to school. He can't fake being sick the entire time. Because then we get bored. So this, and again, here's another scene where you have to deal with it. Elliot starts to have like a telepathic connection with E.T.
Yeah.
Which, what are some of the things that he does?
I believe at first, E.T. was going to get some food and stuff. And then he got alcohol.
Yep.
So then Elliot also got affected by the alcohol as well while he was in the middle of class. And then that just ensues of a bunch of chaos.
Yep, he was doing as E.T. was at home drinking and watching Tom and Jerry and all of these different shows, Elliot is actually in biology class and he begins out of nowhere, for some odd reason, starts freeing all the frogs. This scene has no context with the rest of the film whatsoever. It doesn't really...
It was pretty entertaining, though.
It was entertaining, but at the same point, it kind of felt like filler.
Yeah.
To a degree.
You have a good point.
You could cut out that scene, the film would still make sense. By the way, I forgot to mention, this film was 2 hours and 1 minute long.
2 hours?
2 hours and 1 minute. So I feel like this is the scene that's like, it's a 2 hour film. So he starts getting rid of it. And then, do you remember the film that E.T. was watching?
The film that he was watching? I believe it was some form of noir film?
Kind of. It was actually Western.
Oh.
It was, I did some research. It was John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara in The Quiet Man.
Oh, okay.
Which, I don't know why they would pick this film out of every film, but fine.
I guess they just wanted to have, like, a certain event happen, but they wanted, like, a pre-recorded film already, so they'd probably have to, like, work with what they had, and that probably fit in with, like, the very specific scene that they wanted to reenact, or at least in Elliot's side. Probably,
and it could have had some sort of personal connection with Steven Spielberg as well, but that's just something we'd have to ask him. So, Elliot then kisses this random girl who... It's never really explained.
I don't think there was much context, but I think they sort of liked each other. It felt like it was implied, but there was such a little amount of time that there wasn't really that much explanation to it.
Right, like it was just kind of one of those, he likes her, but you're never going to see her again in the entire film. This is not a romance film.
It's like, hello, there's his person, goodbye.
Smooch, leave. So, very interesting scene. I personally didn't find this scene completely amusing. I did find at the beginning a little chuckle, but then when I saw the amount of frogs that they had... Okay, so here's what I was thinking, right? As the scene was going on, you had these frogs all in containers.
Yeah.
Each kid got one frog. There had to have been over 30 to 40 frogs in that scene. Because there was this giant pile of them, right?
You're right.
There was this huge pile.
Frogs.
So how many kids were in that room? Because most of the time, I know this just from schooling experience, the normal ratio on average is about one teacher for every 20 to 30 students. So there should have been 2 teachers in that classroom.
You have a good point with that. I would say something about potentially, since this is an earlier time, maybe there's different regulations for teaching.
There could have been.
I am not sure that's the case at all. But still, definitely the amount of frogs sort of put a little bit of emphasis onto the dramatics.
Yeah, I'm sure it was there for the humor
Yeah.
aspects to make it more like, oh no, there's frogs everywhere. Which, fine, that's okay. You can do whatever you want with that. But, I don't know, it still just seemed like filler. So, once again, Elliot is taken to the principal's office and the mother is called and told that he is drunk, essentially. Or intoxicated. As the school department would call it.
I do believe he's intoxicated.
Indubitably. Well, in reality, probably the teacher was like, are you drunk?
He's like, no.
No, what are you talking about? You're drunk! So, the alien begins to learn English from one of these little... It kind of reminded me of the Schoolhouse Rock episodes.
Oh, yeah. I'm almost sure that was Schoolhouse Rock. It looked like the same animation. It felt like it.
It definitely did, which, hey, if it was, no problem with that.
Yeah.
That would be fine. But Gertie begins to explain that E.T.'s learning English by saying ball and basket and all of these different words. So, very interesting. And then E.T. begins to read a little comic strip where I just knew this because I know a couple people who do read comics and I talk to them. That's actually supposed to be Buck Rogers.
Oh, I see.
And he's stranded, and in the comics picture that we're supposed to see, he makes this little machine that's supposed to let others know, like, help, help. Which I don't know why this movie reminds me of so many other movies. Do you know have you at least heard of The Martian?
The Martian, I believe so, yes.
Yeah, it's the one where the guy's stuck on Mars and everyone leaves.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one, yes.
Yeah. Wow, wait, why haven't I talked about The Martian before? In E.T., E.T. is stranded on Earth while everyone else leaves, and then he makes a device so that other people can find him.
Yeah.
In The Martian... this one person is stuck on Mars because all of his friends leave, and he makes a machine to find his friends.
I thought all his friends died.
No, his friends left.
Oh, they just left? Oh, okay.
They left and they didn't take him. And then they're like, shoot, we forgot him. We knew we forgot something. So, The Martian...
It was my watch.
Yeah. Well, we're missing that too. We'll go back for the watch, I guess. And if he's there, fine. But no, essentially The Martian is just the modern day E.T. But reverse. If E.T. was on Mars.
Good to know.
So, right? So maybe we'll do another podcast on that.
All right.
So E.T. begins to... He gets this genius idea, and he's like, I'm going to make a machine. And I want to talk about this machine. The machine is... What did you think of it?
The machine?
In the sense of, like, would it work? What did it do?
Would it work? I mean, it felt like it was using a lot of sort of household items, just for the fact that, like, they were, like, kids and stuff, so they didn't really know what to find.
Do you know what it was made out of?
Yeah, I think I relatively do remember what most of it consisted of. I think it consisted of an umbrella, a saw blade, a coat hanger, and a juke. One of those vinyl players.
You're actually close. You named
and a fork.
You named a couple. Yeah, there was a fork and there was a saw blade on this vinyl record thing. There was also a speak and spell thing, which was like that little typey doodad.
Right.
There was an umbrella lined with tin foil, and then there was a coffee can filled with other electronics. It says, this machine didn't make much sense to me because it didn't. It seemed like one of those, like, I got it. It's a pile of junk and it works.
Science.
Yeah, which Elliot, even in the forest as his triumphant music is playing, he goes, "It's working!" Yeah, to which I went, it's just a thunderbolt type thing. It's just a pole.
Yeah.
It didn't really do a whole lot. But no, it seemed almost just, it was there to look cool.
Yeah, I definitely think so, because of...
Like,
I'm pretty sure if it were used, it was meant to be.
I know they can't see it, but just so that you have a better idea of what it exactly looked like. So yeah, you can see the cans, speakers there. It looks like a pile of junk.
Yeah, it does.
With some wires kind of poked in there of like, oh yeah, we completely know what we're doing. But yes, definitely it I guess works at the end, but as of now, it kind of looks like a pile of junk. And then. This is also when Michael notices that E.T. is kind of getting more sick. Which, again, no explanation. My only thought process was that something in the atmosphere?
I would just think maybe, yeah, something along those lines. Since he's an alien, he might not be adjusted to like the climate or maybe the oxygen or whatever buildup of the planet. So
Right.
he may not be accustomed to it, so he can easily get sick, or maybe he's just not having some form of nutrient that he requires.
That's another possibility, is that he needs to eat something other than just alcohol and whipped cream and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But which also applies to humans.
Humans need alcohol.
Eat healthy. Not that. But yes. So the next scene is it is Halloween night, and all of the ghouls are out. I mean, the children.
Spooky.
The children are out, and they're going around and they're getting ready to all dress up. And we have, I believe, what was it? It was Elliot was a ghost.
Yeah, Elliot was, I think. Oh, okay. The Hunchback. He was.
Elliot was a hunchback.
Yes.
Who were the others?
I believe. I forgot.
Gertie was.
Gertie was a ghost because they
Nope.
wanted to swap out with.
Oh yeah, you're
E.T.
right. Yep.
And then I think the brother. There was a joke that he wanted to be a terrorist, and then his mom shouted at him for doing
Oh, yeah.
so. So I think he instead switched out to some form of bandit with a knife in his head.
I really want to say that was a bandit with a knife in his head. Definitely. And then the mother was this kind of cat girl.
Witch, I think.
Witch, something like that. I don't know.
A magical thing.
Magical thing.
Yeah.
But what did you think about, as long as we're on the topic of Michael again, with Michael being the joke of Michael wanting to go out as a terrorist? If let's say they redid this film, because one of for the 20th anniversary in 2002, they re-released that film.
Oh.
And it said that they put in some new scenes and they did some new camera angles for it, which is fine. But did you think that at the time that joke would be considered appropriate?
At that time? I mean, it was the
1982.
1982, okay.
So, I felt like that joke was kind of a hit or miss for some people, especially since, there were terrorists before and there were also many after.
I would think, due to the timing of it, and before anything really, really
drastic,
historic,
right?
It was probably appropriate back then, but probably in this modern day and age, it probably wouldn't be appropriate at all.
Right, which there's been tons of debates out there about. Do you remember? Jaws?
Jaws? Yes.
Right, that was made in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
One of the main arguments that I've heard from people just in conversations along with them were all of the girls are wearing bikinis. There's not really one that's just, other than the main character, main character's wife, who's just wearing complete clothing. It's all bikini. But again, that was the time, and that's the main argument for it. But it goes back and forth of it was the time, but was it still appropriate?
Well, I suppose it depends on the director and what they exactly want to represent for that.
Exactly, yeah. At the end of the day, it's up to the director and the team of the film to figure out exactly what they believe is right and what they think is the best way to go around this type of film. Especially with even my own films, Walt and Russ. There's nothing controversial in that, but you saw it at the.
Yes, I did.
Okay, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, and if you haven't seen it, watch it.
Yes, it is good film.
Yeah, please watch. But yeah, the third one, which I gotta say, I still absolutely love that film. There are plenty of things wrong with it, but I love it. But one of the things that kept getting into my head of whether or not this scene should be in it was Walter gets shot.
Oh, Walter got shot. Yeah,
Walter got shot at the end, and then there was the dramatic music, and it was him falling. Yeah, it was him falling. And I remember the person that played Eve, Emmy, which, hi, Emmy, she was actually the one that did that makeup. And it's just chocolate syrup. It's not blood. But she did a phenomenal job, I have to say. I have that. We recorded that on my phone, so I can still see it in color, and I was able to slow it down. But even when I was editing it, I had one of the most uncomfortable times throughout the entire Walter Ross thing was when I had to show my parents the film.
Okay.
And they had seen it. They completely knew about it, but now it was like, this is the film, this is where it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And again, like, of course, it was very uncomfortable to show them that, but at the same point, they still understood exactly where my thought process was and how it was in accordance to the story specifically. So I actually did 2 different versions of that, where one just shows the one that was published, Walter getting shot, and the other was just you didn't see the face.
So it. Oh, okay. So it just keeps his.
So
face
it
out
was
of the cut.
it was the shot of the foot and the phone falling,
okay.
And then the next shot was Eve walking in and checking his pulse.
Oh, all right.
And I felt like that was too quick, but still, that just goes back to say, it really depends on the director what they want to put into their film. Mm-hmm. So sorry, went into a side tangent there, but felt like if we're going to talk about that, be here. Mm-hmm. So they all go out and they start running around, and there are a lot of Star Wars references.
Star Wars? Film. Oh, you're right.
With, I don't know if you caught it, but and if not, I can show you the scene later, but in the music, they actually played a little tiny bit of Star Wars into it when, do you remember the kid that walked by that was dressed as Yoda? And then
dressed as Yoda? Yeah.
Yep, and then Yoda goes home. Yeah, they played a little bit of the Star Wars theme.
Oh, really?
And I was like, oh, that's so cool.
The only reference I probably saw is I think early on when Elliot was showing E.T. a bunch of like stuff, human things. Yep. He showed some Star Wars figurines like Han Solo and Greedo.
Yep, which I don't know if Steven Spielberg was like, this is gonna be the film that's gonna get the best, because the film it actually surpassed was Star Wars for the highest grossing film ever.
Oh.
So I don't know if that was like Spielberg was just, I know I'm going to do it, and I did it type of attitude.
This is going to happen.
This is going to win. So, yeah, I thought that was so an interesting type of thing. So they all go, and they're starting to ride their bike home after doing a little bit of trick-or-treating, because, I mean, it's candy. You can't go wrong with that.
Free food.
It's free food.
Yeah.
Which, did you ever go trick-or-treating?
Yeah, I used to go trick-or-treating quite a lot. I think I stopped a few years ago, but I still have fond memories of it.
I had fun because now with my niece, because she's at that age now where she's kind of understanding, not like what Halloween is, but like this, like dressing up and getting all set.
Costumes, yay!
So that's always fun. So they go into the, oh shoot, I forgot what happened next. Oh right, yes. They go into the this is when they go into the field.
Yes,
and
they
this is when they make
the plan.
Then they make the machine and they actually turn the machine on.
Yes.
But before that, we have this one of the most, I want to consider one of the most well-known scenes where Elliot and E.T. are on the bike and they fly across the moon.
Yeah.
What did you think about seeing the full scene for the full time?
The full scene for the first time. I definitely thought it was quite interesting, a quite interesting scene and such. Mm-hmm.
Mainly because of like the technology behind it.
Yeah, the technology and like what they had at their disposal at the time. I definitely think that it was quite interesting how they put it into the film. So like it had a purpose of like transporting them to the area that they wanted to.
Exactly.
But I felt like maybe that scene is a little bit overhyped in my opinion. I mean, it's a good scene, but I don't think it's all too incredible.
Because I completely agree with that. I felt like the scene was short.
Yeah, you're right.
A lot of people were going, like, when you think of a very well-known scene, you think, at least for me, one scene that that I can remember fine is in and I know I've already talked about it, but Monsters University, at near the end when Mike and Sully have that talk near the lake, it doesn't even do a lot. It just looks very nice and it has a very good message at the end. It's very quiet, and that's what makes a good scene. This scene was essentially the complete opposite, where it was like really hyped. The music hit as soon as he went off the cliff, and they start flying, and then when they land, they crashed. which I thought was very realistic, but
Yeah.
interesting that they would make him crash out of everything.
One thing that I actually would like to point out,
Mm-hmm.
I found it interesting how, the first time they went flying, they crashed. But however, later on in the movie, when they flew a second time, they actually landed the thing. Like, they knew what they were doing this time around.
I would have liked it if Elliot landed, but all the other kids crashed because
Yeah.
Elliot knows
Yes.
what to expect.
Uh,
Not that I encourage the kids to crash, but I also, the shot of when E.T.'s face is like the only thing on the screen.
mm-hmm.
We saw that on just a tiny projector screen,
Mm.
like a normal sized TV, I would
Yeah.
say. Imagine being in 1982 and you're in the dark and you're with a bunch of people and you see that thing on a giant silver screen just pop up with the violins going as they're getting ready.
That would terrify me.
Right, yeah, and they did it twice because then they did it again when the kids went back up. Remember?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. So very odd, but either way, they get there, and then the whole "it's working" with the machine. Elliot falls asleep, and then when he wakes up, E.T.'s gone. So Elliot comes back home, and then the mother's like getting ready to call the cops. Or no, the cops are already there.
Yeah.
Ready to go. Like, we gotta find him. She closes the fridge door, and there
Ta-da!
it is.
I'm here now.
I'm here, everybody. And then this is when Michael kind of takes over the story for a little bit, where Elliot's like, you gotta find him. And this was the scene that I'm like, yes, he did it.
Yes.
Instead of having Michael, like, get a... Because I felt, the way I thought the scene was going to go was I thought Michael was going to get the group of his friends and go, come on, guys, we gotta go find him. And then do that.
Ah, I see.
But I liked more that they just made Michael go.
Yeah.
And they had him immediately go into the forest and try to find him. To which he does. At the bottom of a sewer type of thing.
Yeah.
And he's all pink like a dead rodent.
Yeah, that part I didn't understand.
That was the part where it clicked in my head of like, oh, things are just supposed to make sense for the point of a story. Okay. So he's dead. He wraps him up because someone's going to find him. Oh, no. And Helicopter. And he takes him home, puts him in the bathroom. A very great idea, Michael. And then he comes back with his mother, and he actually quotes Elliot the exact same way Elliot told Michael of, can you just promise me the most excellent promise you've ever made? And then they open the door, and then she's like, oh, I think it's a wonderful costume. It ain't a costume, ma. So they leave, and then have you seen any clips of Steven Spielberg's earlier films before this one? Sorry about that. That was just Fraser.
I probably have, but my memory's pretty bad.
There was one that really reminded me that it was kind of the movie that put him on the spot of Strange Encounter with the Third Kind, or Close Encounter with the Third Kind. And in that film, at the very beginning, I think it was the beginning, that's a scary scene. It's essentially the same orange that they have for the sunset for this scene in E.T. And I don't know, I thought it was very interesting that they decided to keep that kind of that color.
The color tone?
The color tone, yeah, because it's a little bit darker in A Close Encounter, but this one I thought felt like a good idea. What did you think about the not astronauts, but they looked like astronauts, so I'm calling them that.
I mean, I definitely thought they looked like astronauts. I definitely think it sort of encompassed the sort of emphasis on, like, fear and, like, what's going on.
Yeah.
And, like, home intruders, because, yeah, that definitely sort of set the sort of feel and the tone of what was going on.
Yeah, and kind of going back to the way that they moved as well. They weren't human-like. They weren't like their arms at their side going like, hey, what's up, man?
They're like,
we're here to check your in. Yeah, I'm sure that everyone
like,
can see what you're moving on an audio podcast.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. But either way, there's one guy that I love the way he did it, which was he had like the curtains on like the back of the window and arms out, just like pushing through.
He just opens it.
It just reminded me of like a kid, because you used to, At least I still do that.
Mhm.
Of like, you always put your arms out and try to noodle your way through. But I don't know. There were just a lot, and it felt interesting that some were already in the house,
Mm.
and they're like, "Do we leave? Do we go? Do we take the alien? What do we do? Do I buy groceries? I don't know
I'm
what
just
to
gonna
do."
sit here until they go downstairs.
Yeah, like I'll wait for them to leave. So they eventually, they take over, and this was the part at the beginning of the podcast where I was talking about how they make the film very much darker than the beginning, because we go from this frog and happy scene to the kid getting intoxicated to suddenly the U.S. government is suddenly taking over this house.
It's quarantined and stuff everywhere.
Yeah, which this is like the last quarter of the movie, because this scene goes on for a very longer time than I thought it would. So, of course, they find E.T. and they put him into this kind of testing facility, but also health monitor. But they also put Elliot next to him because they realize that they're connected for some reason. Science, it must be. And then, do you want to take over what happens next?
Sure, I believe so. So I believe in the next part, they were talking about... Yes, they were just getting research science stuff. I believe the man with the keys walks in and talks to Elliot about what's going on.
Do you know what that character's name is? It's Keys.
It's just Keys?
Keys, that's his nickname, is Keys.
Keys, okay.
Yep.
Well, I believe Keys explains to Elliot that they're not trying to do anything bad. They want him to go back. Because I believe he mentioned at some part that they've been trying to find these aliens, that this has happened before to him.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to sort of... Yeah, he was asking Elliot, what can I do to help? And I believe what happens from that point on, Elliot just says he wants to go home. And then shortly after that, E.T. passes away.
Yep, shortly after E.T. does die. And the way that we're kind of told this is through the the potted plant, which we forgot to mention near the beginning. E.T. makes the flower pot rise and bloom again, and then it's actually Michael that finds out that it's dying, and then he just screams at the plant, "No!" Which it took me a minute to realize what that meant.
Yeah, it felt like it was a bit of an important aspect throughout the entire story.
Yeah.
Because it felt like they always use the plant throughout the entirety of the movie to sort of represent that he's sort of getting sick gradually.
Right, which I understand that part, but it's just the other things that it's like, why only the plant? Like, when when he got cut, when did that kind of at least come back a little?
I see.
Because it's been one day.
I see, yeah.
So something would have happened. But Elliot, he's struck with grief. He thinks that E.T. is just dead. He's never going to come back to life. And it's just terrible, though.
The entire family is super sad.
Entire family super sad, and they don't really know what to do. And this is where we took a break from the film.
Yes, it just sort of cut off after that.
Yep, this is when we left. And this is also where I'm deciding to do something a little different with the podcast. So I came up with this idea actually a few minutes before you left, or you came over, and I wanted to see how this would work.
All right.
So I had the idea of essentially putting the guest, i.e. you, into the film.
Into the film.
Into the film.
Whoa.
So let's say you just met E.T.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And then E.T., he can speak fluid English.
Okay, fluid
or whatever
English.
language you want to listen to.
Portuguese.
Portuguese, fine. What would you do in that type of scenario? Would you do what Elliot did, or would you kind of go to the government?
That is a good point. That is a really good question. I probably think I'd lean a little bit more towards what Elliot did, which was try and conceal him. Because, honestly, people always act a very different way, and if they don't understand something, they're scared of it. So, it's completely just as to what Elliot did, because I'm pretty sure what Elliot thought was probably, for the most part, correct, that, the government would try to research him, cut him open and such.
Like they did near the end of the film.
Yes. Wait, they did cut him open?
Oh, they didn't cut him open, but I get the feeling they were going to go like, well, he's dead now.
Oh, he's dead.
No,
Autopsy time.
Autopsy time. Yeah, no, I think I would do about the same, but I feel the only thing I would do different is probably tell my parents, like, hey...
There's this thing... I'm just gonna keep him here.
Yeah, it's like...
Okay?
Yeah, it's like... Is something wrong at school? No!
Our dog became a little bit, bigger and maybe a little bit deformed.
And his neck can grow whenever it wants to.
Yeah,
But we don't... How is work? Yeah. So yeah, definitely. I think that was a good answer. So good. I might try to introduce that into other podcasts because maybe we'll do something different with that if I can elaborate upon it better. So we jump back into the film, and E.T. realizes that he's alive because Elliot finds that the plant is now rising again.
Yes.
Which
E.T. somehow does not die after dying.
Which, congrats. Good job. I guess for E.T., fine. Magic. Yeah, most of this is just magic. So, and they stop connecting to each other, too.
Oh, yeah, he broke the I think, psychic bond after E.T. passed away for, I assume, 5 minutes of movie time.
But why wouldn't Elliot have died?
That's a good question. I think that maybe E.T. just set up a psychic bond because, yeah, they were close for, like, a good part of the movie, and he trusted him. But, yeah, I don't think they'd explained it very well at all. But maybe E.T. had some form of control over the bond, so before he passed away, he cut it so Elliot was still alive, or... Yeah, they
possibly. There's plenty of things that could be assumed about this, and I'm sure there's plenty of not researchers, but theorists out there going Triple J, you don't know that. It was a bond that happened back in 1905. There was a science experiment that happened,
and Coca-Cola.
And Coca-Cola and Pepsi, they fused into one of Pepsi-Cola, and then that's why this can happen.
They fought off the Beppers.
Yeah, but there's just not enough really explained here. So, what do they naturally do? They take out E.T., who's now alive and well, and they bring in Elliot and Michael, put them in a van, and they drive off. And they're being chased by the police.
Police guys.
Is that their kind of theme song?
Yes, police guys.
Oh, I would love that. Just a police officer pulls over next to you. Bum, 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 bum. Police officer.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, if the police department wants to hit us up, we have no problem. It's copyrighted now, but sure. So, E.T. leaves and the chase keeps going. Michael's friends come up, which I don't know if you noticed, but the headphone guy.
Yeah, the headphones guy, yes.
That is illegal.
Wait, what?
Now it is illegal because it's essentially... So, with driving, you can't have, headphones in because it limits your hearing.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
The same rule applies to bicyclists.
Huh.
So you can have, tiny headphones in, but, those were noise blockers.
They were like freaking bricks.
They were. They were probably bricks just tied up with some part of the bike, but...
Bricks painted green and duct taped together.
Oh, definitely. So, that's essentially what happens with E.T. The kid. And then they all start to rise up. But did you notice the two police officers with shotguns?
Oh my god, they're like, get over here.
Yeah, they're like, we're about to shoot some kids.
Yes, that is logical sense.
Yeah, sure, whatever you want to call it. But it struck me so off guard because they showed the gun, but then they cut back to the officer, and they definitely showed the officer not taking aim.
Yeah, I think maybe what they were trying to do, they're trying to scare them into
Invoke
stopping.
Fear.
Yeah.
Which I really hope there were because I was so scared that the next...
I was really convinced that they were going to actually try and shoot them because in the scene previously before they fly off with the bikes, they also showed the policemen with revolvers trying to get into the van and stuff.
Exactly. So could you imagine just the next shot, the kids are flying, the triumphant music is playing, guy starts to take aim, and the
It
other
is
police...
like a bird gets shot out of the sky next to them.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
Oh
Or like
my
the police
God.
officer is just like, dude, no. They're flying now.
Can I keep the bird?
Yeah. We can put him on the hood. But either way, they start to fly, and then they land perfectly, because Michael's friends just, I guess, know how to do that. But then again, they were doing, like, tricks on the way.
Yeah,
so
they were doing those jumps and stuff.
maybe
That was
they-
pretty cool.
Maybe they kind of knew how to land better.
They were professionals.
Oh, definitely. They flew before. So this is when they get in back to the forest clearing, and then it's suddenly it's nighttime.
Ta-da!
Ta-da. And then E.T.'s heart is glowing again. And then they start to return home, and this is when they have a little goodbye moment, and they're all crying and saying goodbye.
And then Key's guy and the rest of the family shows up.
Yep, Mary, Gertie, and Keys. I'm just reading this exactly how it says. Mary, Gertie, and Keys, a friendly government agent, whatever you want to call him, shows up, and then they say bye to everyone. And yeah, that's about it. Because then E.T. goes back onto the ship. Everyone cries. And then E.T. points at Elliot and says, "Home.
I will always be there.
I'll always be here." And then they leave. And then in the most like cliche 80s, when the ship takes off, there's a rainbow in the sky.
Yeah.
Everyone watches it. It focuses on Elliot, and then
the thing that sort of caught me off guard is that for some reason I expected there to be like a small bit more of a movie to show like the aftermath or something.
Yeah.
But no, it just cuts to his face, Elliot's face, and then it just ends the movie.
Exactly. Because I thought, like, why didn't the police keep chasing them? When did the government have like so many questions about this? There's just like the mother by now would be like, "Tell me what happened, or you're grounded, young man."
You are already grounded. Just tell me.
But you're gonna shorten your sentence if you tell me this. So, very interesting with this type of film, as it was. It had people that that were known at the time, I guess you could say, like actors. I mean, like you had Dee Wallace as Mary, Henry Thomas as Elliot, and then what I thought was interesting, the person that voiced E.T., Pat Welsh, he's not credited in the film.
Isn't?
He's not. But the people that moved the puppets of E.T. and everything, full on credits. They kept going for it. But the Pat Welsh was not. So, and also Erica Elinak. How would you pronounce that? Because this is...
Let me see. All right.
Eleniak?
Eleniak? Yeah, that sounds about right.
All right, so
I think.
So Erica Maniac.
Sorry for butchering the name.
I'm sure she'll forgive us. She's credited as the girl Elliot kisses.
That's it.
Yep. Which, fine, okay, whatever. But like, you couldn't have just put like Sarah or like Jennifer.
Because I'm pretty sure
nothing.
I'm pretty sure the brother was Michael, right?
The brother is Michael.
Yes.
That was played by Robert
His friends were named as well.
Yep.
So I don't see any reason why she wasn't named.
Yeah, it's like, all right, and what's my role, Steven Spielberg? You're just the girl that Elliot kisses. Anyway, I need to name all these other people.
A bunch of people.
Yep, and the design of E.T. was created by the Italian man Carlo Rambaldi. I know I butchered that name, but he created E.T. and exactly how he was formatted and how he was supposed to walk around and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, very interesting. So, what would you say is the moral of the story?
The moral of the story... That indeed is a very good question.
Because, well, it is supposed to be not a child's movie, but more in the sense of just a film anyone can watch.
I suppose maybe, that is a good question.
I would, if I can go first, I would say probably the theme is that no matter where you are, it's, like, you can make home out of it. As long as, like, your friends and family are probably what makes a home, per se. Which, hey.
I suppose I'd go with that, definitely. I'd agree with that, definitely.
Okay. Now, I'm just going to give you some little tidbits.
Mhm.
We have, it is still holding a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's still quote-unquote certifiably fresh. Perfecto! With 2% gone. The Guardian wrote that, quote, E.T. is a superlative piece of popular cinema, a dream of childhood, brilliantly orchestrated to involve not only children, but anyone able to remember being one. That was written by Derek Malcolm. And then, possibly my favorite, we have Roger Ebert, who gave the film 4 stars and wrote, "This is not simply a good movie. It is one of those movies that brush away our cautions and win our hearts over." So a lot of people really love this film. We should also mention that this film was around the time of... Oh, sorry. Different film. I'm thinking of a different film. But yeah, so a lot of people really love this film. CinemaScore gave the film an A+.
A+.
Which, this was the first known film to ever get that grade.
Oh.
It is extremely rare to get it. Metacritic gave it a 91 out of 100. It won plenty of awards that if I kept reading it, it would just be ridiculous.
10 minutes added.
Oh, essentially. And then it got a ride, it got a meet and greet, it got a book. Just plenty of different ideas. So I guess now it's time to rate it. So out of 10 bicycles.
Bicycles. Out of 10 bicycles, huh? I'd give it, I think, 8 bicycles and then 2 wheels and a chain.
Why not just, for simplicity, why not 8 bicycles and training wheels?
All right, yeah, that sounds good.
That's fine. So about 8.5 for people that don't speak bicycle. But yeah, so why would you give it that?
I'd say it's because I definitely enjoyed the story and how it was played out. It definitely maintained entertainment throughout the entirety of the film, and the development was, the development with the characters and stuff. I definitely saw that. I definitely enjoyed it. Though I would say, some of the aspects of the story could have been further developed or just further explained, so it would have made more sense, because there still is quite a few plot holes here and there in which I don't understand, honestly. They could have done a better job of explaining maybe why this happened, or but aside from that, I definitely like the entirety of the story and how it played out.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There was personally, I was going to give it just 8 bicycles. Because, while it is a very entertaining movie to watch without really thinking, it's still one of those films that I really wish was explained upon more. So, like in Star Wars Episode 4 at the time, the reason that film did good was because it made this entire world that was believable, and you could completely understand where everyone was coming from. This one, it just kind of felt like, this is happening.
This is the thing that's happening. Yes.
Yeah, just roll with it. It's fine. But it still definitely is a very well-known film. I felt that there were certain things they could improve. Probably, like, the frog scene, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like that was needed. The bicycle scene, make it longer. I want to see him fly around or something.
Flying around in the atmosphere.
Yep. And then the ending, I felt, should have been elaborated on a little. Even if they just had Elliot go to school and then the girl was there
just
again.
Some form of display of what happened afterwards.
Even if they did like 1 year later and they have the girl and him dating. That's fine. But I wanted something at the end. But yeah, and of course you know that, I mean, I know you're a video game guy. I'm a video game guy.
I'm an epic gamer.
You're an epic gamer.
Yeah.
So how could we go without talking about the 1982 release of the Atari ET game?
I'm going.
Oh, okay. Alright, well, I guess that about does it then. This isn't a video game podcast, so I'll go see if I can get David back. But thank you all for listening, and till next time, I'm Triple J, and I'll see you guys later. David, hold on, wait.
No.
Wait.